So, what is the premise?
I just found out about net neutrality and the shrinking internet theory, so let's deep dive the topic with a strategic point of view.
How do you get your information?
The internet, of course, and verified news sources, paid information platforms like Crunchbase and Hype Auditor, and a lot of Googling in the right places.
What is your credibility? How often will you post? And will you show your face at all?
My credibility, I worked for 3 multi-billion-dollar corporations in strategy, finance, and analytics. My face, I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that, show it or not. I don't really care either way, but it's my first video, so I'm just doing this because it's easier. And posting schedule is going to be completely up to how much I get done. So hopefully it'll be a lot more coming soon.
Net neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Yes, net neutrality.
Bilal, and you're in the stream. Today, the fight for net neutrality in the United States.
First things first, for the viewers at home, I think we should just define what net neutrality is. Sounds like a fine place to begin.
Net neutrality, which has a lot of us here scratching our heads.
This one should be fun. It'll be more observational analysis and data-driven speculation rather than straight-up strategy, so let's do it.
The year is 2008. Skiers rejoice when the benevolent company known as Vail allowed people to bundle their ski trips and triple their carbon footprint through the sky. 10 years later, the Icon Pass was started by Altera to compete with Vail's growing list of mountains and to end the locally owned ski hill concept forever. The year was 2009, and the United States Congress passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which, while trying to expand internet access, essentially labeled ISPs, Internet Service Providers, as Title II Common Carrier status, which meant that the FCC could regulate ISPs more and prevent unfair internet distribution and access. The year was 2017, and net neutrality searches peaked on Google, trending in all the nerdy corners of the internet. A grassroots movement meant to protect the open internet was in full swing. People were fighting for a level playing field. However, in December 2017, the FCC, led then by Chairman Ajit Pai, appointed under Trump, voted to repeal net neutrality. It became official on February 22, 2018. In 2018, a bill attempting to re-establish net neutrality passed the Senate but stalled in the House. In 2019, the Save the Internet Act was introduced by Democrats. It passed the House but was rejected by the Senate. Also, by 2018, 83% of the ISP market was dominated by 5 companies. In April 2024, the FCC under the then Biden administration voted to bring back net neutrality. However, on January 2, 2025, a circuit court judge ruled that ISPs were not a public utility, but just an information service that can't be regulated by the feds.
What happened with net neutrality and how do we make sense of it? Analysis point number 1. The court system made it a state issue. With the formal repeal of net neutrality in June 2018 by the FCC, many states rushed to introduce legislation that would still require fair practices by ISPs. States like Vermont, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington State all passed bills requiring ISPs to adhere to varying levels of fair internet access practices. California, being the largest economy and the center of tech, had the most robust law written and proposed. It was then rewritten to be weaker, and then rewritten again to be a compromise, and then it was signed into law in September 2018. California was then promptly sued by the FCC and the federal government for wanting to help citizens. After 2.5 years of litigation, the suit was dropped and the law was able to go into full effect. The ruling being that since the FCC said ISPs are not able to be federally regulated, that means state regulation cannot be challenged by the feds, and until Congress acts, will be a state-level issue.
Analysis point number 2. Companies are playing the long game. With the ambiguity of net neutrality, with certain states taking action and others not, it leaves room for companies to act in different ways. Companies like Netflix support a Net Neutrality Act because they believe ISPs will slow down traffic to their websites or apps in favor of their own streaming services and pay TV. ISPs seek to grow market share by either investing in infrastructure and experience, which can justify raising prices, or by just raising prices, or by deleveraging competition.
The internet is a common good commodity, which means the internet has the qualities of a commodity by being interchangeable across providers and acts as the input for many services and businesses, while also being ubiquitous enough to daily life that without the internet, many people's daily lives would be permanently harmed, which is a characteristic of a common good. Consolidating the power of such an important resource to a few monopolistic companies leads to questions on what are the safeguards that ensure fairness and quality. Without regulations, is that the shareholders, market dynamics, or the executive teams at these companies that are not accountable to the public. The internet was always uneven due to money, and people are being left behind with a new administration unwilling to speak to this issue.
3. A hypothesis. A hypothesis, or a best guess, is based on the precedents of net neutrality that influences things like the current subscription models that require people to maintain hundreds of different services. There are so many different subscription services. How can we even keep up? So, I believe these services will be grouped into access networks or content universes where for an expensive monthly or yearly price, you will get access to a vast set of services, apps, and entertainment. Think Netflix and Spotify versus Apple Music and Max. And that expensive price will be the capital distributed to the companies that buy into these different networks maintained by ISPs or others. Why pay to make content when you can charge to access it? Which changes the current inconvenient way to access technology from an individual subscription model into something more convenient and less at the same time. However, if you cannot pay, you cannot get access, which is not net neutrality. However, this could be the infrastructure of a new internet that will have its own social universe, create competition for new content platforms to justify customer buy-in to that network, and services can use the network to advertise themselves and in turn attract advertisers. A little dystopian, but crazier things have happened, and services can still maintain individual subscriptions for those who do not want that. Also, companies are already trying to do this.